Hey everyone, my name is Alexandra and I am a watercolor artist. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to paint a floral heart. This is something that with Valentine's Day coming up, you guys can use to paint as cards, or honestly just any time of year. Painting wreaths is one of my absolute favorite things, so I decided why not do the same thing but make it into a heart. Let's get started. For supplies today, you guys will need some watercolor paper. I'm using 140-pound cold press watercolor paper. I have 2 cups of water, one for clean, one for dirty water, a napkin for drying my paintbrush. I use a pencil briefly at the beginning just to draw out my shape. I'm using only one paintbrush for this tutorial. I have an Opus Allegro number 2 paintbrush. If you guys use 2 or 4, it can kind of vary depending on the size of your picture. And for paints today, I'm using Art Philosophy & Co.'s Terrain watercolor palette. The colors I'm mainly using from this palette is the Vine Leaf, Balsam, Sourwood, and Crab Apple. Otherwise, I'm using a variety of Winsor & Newton Series 2 and 3 watercolor paints, but because it's a floral wreath, you guys are welcome to use any colors that you'd like. To prepare your paper, what I've done with mine is I've taken my pencil and I've really lightly drawn a heart onto my page, just in the center. You guys don't have to draw the heart, you can just wing it. I find that if I do that, my hearts end up really random shapes. So drew mine out and then I tried to erase it to make it super, super light on my page. That way, when I paint with the watercolor, the pencil line isn't gonna still show through. So now that we've drawn out our heart, we're gonna start, and like I do with most of my wreaths, the concept that I aim for is to scatter each element that I'm painting around the entire shape. So easiest way to start is to start with our flowers, just because that's what we want standing out the most. So in light of painting a heart, we're gonna paint some roses. I am gonna start with my smaller paintbrush. I have a number 2 here. And I'm gonna paint some light pink roses. So I'm just going in to my palette. I have this very lovely crabapple color, and I'm just gonna mix it with some of the red sourwood to make it stand out a little bit more. And we're gonna go for some really loose florals here. So anywhere along your heart, what you're gonna do is you're just gonna paint little sort of half curve, half moon shapes going in a circle. Mine are really loose, not being too specific about them, to give you that shape. Whenever I'm teaching these classes in person, the easiest way for me to get people to envision it is to just imagine that you're painting something like a cinnamon bun that just sort of goes in that swirly motion. So I painted one rose here, I'm gonna paint another one up at the top. So I'm just painting these little curves all around. If you guys are looking for a more in-depth tutorial on how to paint roses, I do have one on my channel. Feel free to check it out. That is for a bigger rose. I'm doing a simplified version of that for my wreath, just because I don't need it to be overly detailed. But that's a really good starting place just to know sort of how to shape your petals. Because I know if you're starting, especially if you haven't painted many flowers before, it can be very intimidating. But one of the things that I will tell you guys, especially with painting wreaths like this, is feel free to just be messy with it, have fun with it. You'll notice I'm not paying too much attention. I'm essentially just painting little half C's that continue all the way around till I get the shape that I want. And everything is just really loose. So I have another rose there. I think I might add a few in different colors. So I'm gonna go in and we're gonna add in sort of a purple colored rose. So I wanna cluster them just because I like the look of them bunched together. So I'm just gonna go in and paint a small purple one right next to this one that I just finished. And again, I'm just painting little half C's. So it's just sort of a messy circle shape. I'll put another one somewhere else along my heart. One of my favorite things about painting this way is that you sort of just see it come to life every time you add another element to your painting. So that one might be a little bit bigger. And then I'm gonna go in and I'll just paint another mini little one down here. So with this too, feel free to use whatever colors you'd like while you're painting your roses. Okay, so now that we've done that, we are going to go on to our next step. So for this next one, what we're gonna do is paint just some super, super light leaves in behind, and they're sort of gonna sit in behind. We're gonna layer on top of it. So because we're doing that, one of my favorite leaves to paint are eucalyptus leaves, just because naturally they're a very light color. So I'm starting with a really, really watered down sort of green-blue color, and I'm gonna go in and I'm just gonna paint a few branches. So I'm using that line that I drew for my heart as my guideline to follow, but I'm gonna stem these branches coming off of it. So I'll paint a really skinny line, and then I'm just painting circles on either side. All right, so I'm just gonna go around my painting and add a few branches. Where you guys place your branches, it honestly doesn't really matter. My easiest way to know where I wanna put them is to just sort of scatter them around the wreath. So it's not all of the eucalyptus branches right beside each other and all of the roses. The concept that I'm going for is to spread them out throughout the painting. So especially with these eucalyptus ones, I'm just painting very loose, definitely not perfect looking circles. And we're just sticking them in all over, and then we're gonna go over top with some more leaves that are more detailed. So now that I've painted a couple of those, we can go in and add some leaves to our roses. So I'm gonna go back into my palette and I'm gonna use the vine leaf color mixed with a little bit of balsam. And I'm gonna add some leaves to each rose. So again, we're keeping these super simple. I'm gonna have them coming out of the bottom of the rose. And what I'm doing for this is I'm putting the tip of my paintbrush down, and I'm just applying pressure as I pull back, but I'm sort of cutting off the leaf right in front of where the rose is so that it kind of looks like it's cut in half. That way it actually looks like it's coming from the flower and not sort of floating beside it. Now I'll just add a little leaf to this small purple rose here. And right away you can see this coming together so much more. So now we're gonna go in and we're gonna add some more little just flower buds. So the way that I like to do that is by starting with the stems. I'm just mixing in a bit more of a muted green with my green that I'm already using. And we're gonna do the exact same thing we did with the eucalyptus by painting branches that sort of stem out. So I'm gonna do one here, and I'm doing a line. I'm having it sort of follow along the pencil drawing that I've done, and then I'm just gonna branch it off a little bit. And we'll add some little flower buds to that as we go. So I'll do another one down here. I do another one at the bottom. And I can kind of make my lines really random shapes, just give it a nice and whimsical look. So as you can see down towards the bottom of my page here, I'm going directly on top of where I painted the eucalyptus branch, and I can stick my lines in there. So right now it's looking sort of random like that. So we're gonna go in and add the flowers and make it look a little bit more cohesive. So I'm gonna take the same pink that I was using before. I think I want it to be a bit brighter, so I'm gonna mix some more of the sour wood in with it. And I'm just gonna paint little flower buds. So the idea is that I'm sort of painting in like a little cup shape, but I'm just doing little lines that go all the way up and kind of come to a point at the top. So what I'm doing with this is I'm just leaving some white space in it because it adds some texture and dimension. I can make, if I want, some of my flowers look like they're opening up. So I can follow that exact same like teardrop shape, but I can put 3 of them next to each other. I can do really small ones. And we're just gonna paint them all the way around. So there I'm doing another one with 3 to make it look more like it's opening. I'm just doing these little teardrop shapes. All right, so now that I've done that, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna add some little leaves. So I'm just adding them to either side of these branches that I made for the little flower buds. Okay, so now that I've done that and I've filled it with leaves, I just want to make this whole painting look more cohesive. So I'm gonna go in with that same green and I'm sort of just gonna weave it through so it looks like it's kind of vines that are creating this flower heart wreath. So I'll start from the point at the center of my flower and I'm just gonna work my way through by filling in green lines wherever I don't notice it, and I can kind of curve it, I can weave it, I can make it look like they're weaving through. So I'm going all the way down here to where my 1 rose is, filling in that space below, attaching it at the bottom. I could do a little curve at the bottom there, and then I'm going to work my way up. So some of the spots where there's already these flowers sticking out, I can leave it or I can add a little bit more green just to make it more full. And then I'm gonna work my way all the way around, coming back to this other center point here. So right away you'll notice how much that just ties in the entire painting. So now that that's done, you could leave it here. I'm gonna go in and add just a tiny bit more detail and then we will be all done with our heart wreath. So for more detail, first thing that I immediately notice is that my roses are looking just a little bit flat. So I wanna go in with some more pink that's just a darker version of what I was already using, or a more pigmented version. And I'm gonna follow the exact same concept I was doing before, but I'm just gonna paint little lines, sort of following where I've already painted, but not completely covering it. So the idea is that I'm just adding a skinnier version of what I've already painted, just to add that depth and make it stand out. And I'm gonna do the same thing as well with the purple roses. So right away you can see what a difference that makes just to add in the darker purple and darker pink into the roses. So now I'm gonna go into my leaves with the same concept, and I'm going with this really nice dark green that I have from Winsor & Newton. I'll mix it with a little bit of the greens I have from my other palette. And I'm just gonna go in and add some details. So I'm gonna paint just half of these leaves, and then on the other half I'm just gonna paint some veins. So I'm just sort of giving it that contrast and adding a little more interest. So painting the one side fully in, and then the second side, I'm just adding some little veins. And I'm using a little bit of a dry brushing technique here just to give it some texture. Right, and that is all we have for our watercolor floral heart wreath, all of those things together. This is something that if you guys are giving as a card, you can definitely write something on it, make it super special and personalized for whoever you're giving it to. Another thing with this one, because it is a wreath, you guys can paint however many flowers you want on it using whatever colors, whatever variation. It's such a fun and simple, easy thing that anybody can paint. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you followed along, make sure to take a picture, send it to me on Instagram at Alexandra Victoria Studio. I absolutely love to see what you guys are painting, so please do share it with me. Also, comment below what you'd like to see next, and if you haven't already, make sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel. See you next time.